Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, June 13, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more weather lovers or rain lovers just like you guys, so that we can build this weather community in time for peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October, so that we can in turn keep everyone safe. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this tweet from Eric Webb. He's actually a government meteorologist who from time to time makes some very accurate posts about the Atlantic hurricane season. And he stated in his recent post on June 12, "It's certainly hard not to notice the striking similarities between this summer's precip forecast from the NMME and the C3S ensemble suites and some on the early modeling work for Sutton and Hudson 2005. So we can actually see what he's referring to. We know the NMME model, one of those climate forecast models that we use to forecast for the month, and he's actually highlighting this right here. July into August and September, heading into the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. And he's also highlighting all of the greens that we can see stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean, that we all know from the key on the right that represents some amount of above average rainfall. We can even see Jamaica right here, and he's actually showing the similarities with this, the NMME model, and this map right here. This is the C3S, and this is valid for August 2024, and we can actually see the similarities. All of the greens represent an increase in rainfall, even some blues in there that we can see by the key on the, where's the key? Let's see if I can get it here. Alright, so the key is right here actually, and we can see all the greens and even some blues in there that remind us that show some tremendous rainfall. So we can see a lot of it stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region. A lot of blues right here to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. We know that's where most of the systems usually form, becoming tropical depressions, tropical storms, as all of these push towards the west. So we'll see exactly what happens. We know all of this has to do with the numerous tropical waves that should be coming off of Africa and then developing, and they have no shortage of warm water to work with. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how August unfolds, how July through to October unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted. If we take a look at the very latest from the US National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather look, we can see that as of 1:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 12:34 p.m. Jamaica time, they still have that area highlighted of the southeastern United States coast for a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation within the next 7 days. And they also have issued a code orange right there, so they've now given that disturbance in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico a 40% chance of formation within the next 7 days. So it's gonna be interesting to see what actually happens. Are we going to finally get Alberto out of one of these systems? It's just a waiting game at this point. If we take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can still see the numerous tropical waves, most of which are squashed to the south, attached to the intertropical convergence zone right there across the southern main development region. We know the intertropical convergence zone is where all the air from the northern hemisphere meets the air from the southern hemisphere, and we have a lot of rising air, cloud showers and thunderstorms stretching all the way from Africa into northern South America right there. We can still see the trough of low pressure attached to the frontal system but the Hurricane Center is still monitoring for development, and we can see numerous troughs as represented by these broken red or orange lines right here across the northwestern portions of the main development region. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can actually make out the clouds associated with the numerous tropical waves, as well as what's associated with the intertropical convergence zone across the southern portion of the satellite imagery. You can also see the numerous troughs of low pressure right here across portions of the northwestern portion of the main development region, and the frontal system attached to the area of low pressure right there off the southeastern coast of the United States still brings some amount of tremendous rainfall to sections of Florida, the Bahamas, section of Cuba, even spilling into section of the Cayman Islands this morning. And we remember it was definitely bringing that moist southeasterly flow across Jamaica last night, as many of us, especially on the south coast, were getting it. Some amount of rainfall, even in my area in St. Thomas. I definitely got in on some heavy rainfall on and off last night, and I was indeed grateful for that. If we take a look at what was predicted in yesterday's video, if you remember yesterday's video, we actually highlighted that today would have been more of a sunny day than anything else, and most of the rainfall would have affected us last night. That's Wednesday night, especially across southern and eastern Jamaica with that southeasterly flow. And if we take a look at the southern parishes, we know we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. Eastern parishes, we know we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Andrew, Kingston, and St. Thomas. And what ended up happening? As early as 8:20 p.m. the forecast was coming through as the Cuban Doppler radar images were posted on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. They were also posted on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day and even through the night that you can't afford to miss. So we saw on the Cuban Doppler radar images that we had that moist southeasterly flow still coming in across the island. We had a lot of showers as represented by the greens that represent some light to moderate rainfall, getting even up to some yellows that represent some heavy rainfall. And we definitely got that across section of St. Thomas, section of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, as well as sections of Westmoreland. And we have some of our commenters confirming the rainfall. On our Facebook page, we have Shade Bridgeman stating light showers in St. Catherine. That was 21 hours ago. That was about the same time, about 8 p.m. Delroy Hines at about the same time. Just light shower on and off in Tower Islet, St. Mary. But we can see that some of that rainfall even spilled into sections of some northern parishes. Even on our YouTube page, we had the comments coming in. We had Suzette Christie 1495. Good night, Weather Jamaica. Having light shower of rain my side in Spanish Town now. Thanks for the weather update. Another commenter here. Good night. We don't get no rain in Brownstown, and today it was sunny in Brownstown. Unfortunately, that's a northern parish. So maybe you can get some more rainfall with the change in weather pattern that's coming soon. But we have some more comments right here. Cynthia Bryan 09 stating very heavy intermittent showers in Mandeville from yesterday with strong gusts of winds. The frequency of the downpours increased during the night. And even White Shadow Videos JA stating rain fell all night Wednesday night in Kingston. I experienced something similar in my area as well. So clearly, as it relates to what took place across the island today, just as predicted, most of the clouds and the isolated showers might have been more focused across the northwest and sections of the far east. We still saw that we were getting more of a easterly or kind of east-southeasterly flow, and we can also see that the high cold cloud tops right there were being blown out towards the south than anything else. Nothing major, no thunderstorm, no rainfall at all, nothing significant. It was a mostly sunny day across the entire island in general. If we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, we can actually see the high cold cloud tops, but nothing at all is within those clouds. All of that pushing off towards the south. You see those blues, greens, yellows. it's not anything at all. We know these from watching these satellite images for so long, and we can match it up with what we're seeing on the Cube and Doppler radar images. Nothing to see here at all. Some of you might be wondering, but whether Jamaica, what's this? What is all of these blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, and even pinks that could be representing what, light to moderate to heavy or even severe rainfall? No, it's not. All of this is what we called ground clutter. It's actually a glitch on the Cube and Doppler radar, which is why we're hoping that the Jamaican Doppler radar can be fixed shortly, because when we're having our own radar, we don't have such glitches at all. I actually spoke to Evan Thompson a couple of weeks ago. That's the principal director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, and he stated that the Jamaican Doppler radar should be up and running by July of this year. So hopefully I don't have to call back in August to find out what's going on. Hopefully they get it fixed so that we don't have to be depending on the Cuban radar site or the Guantanamo Bay radar, the military radar that only shows Portland, or the Cayman radar that only shows Western Jamaica. Alright, so let's just take a look at the temperatures right now. Let's reload these images so that we have the latest. 29 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 28 degrees Celsius in Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Friday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As related to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Friday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Friday. And we see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellows. They represent up to what, 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of June across Jamaica are about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 90 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 32.2 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Friday. As relates to the dry air map, we can still see a lot of dry air as represented by these yellow colors right here across portions of the Central Caribbean. We know the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds, like what we're seeing here on the key on the bottom, represents the dry air getting intense the more we go to the right. And we can see even more dry air across the northern portion of North Atlantic, especially right there off the coast of Africa. If we take a look, however, at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we do see that Jamaica is finally going to be getting in on a break. We saw that it was definitely hazy in some spots today than anything else, as we had the Saharan dust across region. We know the Saharan dust is represented by all of the browns that we see stretched all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. And we're going to be getting in on a break, as we can see portions of the northeastern Caribbean is definitely getting in on a break. As a matter of fact, if we look back at the latest rainbow satellite images, we're actually starting to moisten up the northeastern Caribbean. Not seeing it well here, but let's look at the visible. So we can definitely see that we have an increase in clouds across portion of the Leeward Islands right here. Maybe the troughs are starting to bring some moisture into section of the Leeward Islands, section of Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, section of Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and all of this is making its way downward into portions of Jamaica. So it's definitely going to be moistening up our atmosphere, maybe setting the stage for some rainfall this weekend, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what's to come. Alright, so let's backtrack. So yes, some Saharan dust definitely right here across the rest of the Caribbean. Jamaica gonna be getting in on a break. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, both the Euro and the GFS models are still in consensus that we're gonna be receiving those lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because the winds are gonna be somewhat strong in a way. We see more brighter greens than anything else, anywhere from 15 to 20 knots expected, and we see the general direction for the winds coming in from the east southeast. Who knows, we might even get some more lingering rainfall tonight across some southern parishes. More than likely not, considering that the forecast isn't calling for that, but we'll see, and I'll be here to keep you posted if that happens. However, we are still getting in on that northerly flow of upper level winds. blowing all those high cold cloud tops off towards the south, as we saw here on the infrared satellite images. But as we can see, there's not much moisture within these clouds at all. As relates to the rainfall forecast now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing where it's going to be raining across Jamaica and the time 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, which is actually 9 a.m. Jamaica time. We see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus that we're going to be having some blues that represent rainfall across where eastern parishes in Jamaica, so sections of maybe St. Thomas, Portland. We see the consensus on both the Euro and the GFS models. Then by afternoon now, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, the Euro is a bit different, a bit more robust than the GFS. Euro showing blues represent rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. GFS showing blues that represent rainfall across maybe sections of St. Thomas and some northern coastal areas, so maybe sections of, who knows, Brownstown, St. Anne, section of St. Mary, St. James, maybe section of Hanover and Westmoreland. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted on my other social media platforms with what actually takes place to see which one of the models win. Will it be the Euro? Will it be the GFS for Friday afternoon? Stay tuned to find out. As it relates to the accumulated precipitation forecast from the Euro and the GFS models, it makes sense that the Euro has more rainfall across most areas, up to at least 0.29 of an inch of rainfall being forecasted within the next 24 hours, especially right here across central Jamaica on the Euro. GFS making more sense of the 1 hour totals for the rainfall across sections of some northern and eastern parishes, up to at least 0.1 of an inch of rainfall being expected on the Euro. Either way, we'll take it. We're in the month of June. We're in our secondary rainy season. We'll take all the rainfall that we can get to do something to the heat that we're currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a lot of clouds still bringing some showers and thunderstorm activity. The section of the Bahamas, Florida, off the southeast coast of the United States associated with that area, the Hurricane Center is still watching. Numerous troughs across the waters to the northeast of the Caribbean, and a lot of clouds associated with numerous tropical waves, as well as the intertropical convergence zone right here across the southern portion of the basin. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're going to be confirming what we're talking about earlier with the visible satellite images. We can actually see that we've definitely been getting in on some amount of rainfall, and we're still getting in on that rainfall across sections of the Leeward Island, so sections of Antigua and Barbuda, sections of St. Kitts and Nevis, the US and British Virgin Islands, section of Puerto Rico. We're definitely getting in on some rainfall. As a matter of fact, if we put these images into motion, we'll see where it was raining across sections of Guadeloupe, the British Virgin Islands, sections of Puerto Rico stretching all the way from the east to the western end of the island. So we're definitely getting in on some amount of rainfall today, all courtesy of the trough, and most of the moisture associated with this is expected to move off towards the west southwest. So definitely Jamaica could be in for some of that later on. As it relates to the Barbados radar, don't see much happening across Barbados right now, but we do see some isolated showers to the north of Barbados heading from east to west, maybe to affect sections of Martinique. If they're not already getting rainfall, we do see some rainfall passing right there to the south of St. Lucia. If we take a look at the wide view of Doppler radar images, we can still see that we have a lot of heavy rainfall training into portions of southern Florida, the Bahamas associated with that airflow pressure. Some rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, Honduras, sections of Colombia, not to mention sections of Suriname and French Guiana. As related to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we're indeed grateful that we're starting to see more of a mixture of those grey colors across the basin that we know represent average temperatures, even a mixture of some blues in there across the eastern Caribbean that represents below average temperatures. But for the most part across the central to the western Caribbean, we see the yellows and oranges that represent above normal temperatures. Above normal temperatures are also back across portions of the United States. As relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we still see all the browns that represent Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean right there. And we know all of this dust is going to be continuously pushing westward and possibly causing hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses or asthmatic conditions in some persons. So please ensure that you have your meds ready. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we still see a mixture of those lighter shades of blues to darker shades of blues that we know represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds are gonna be averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 knots as seen by these bright green colors. And we also see the wind direction coming in from the east across the basin for the most part, east southeast in a way across the eastern Caribbean, southeast in a way across the western Caribbean or northwestern Caribbean. Not so strong at all across the Gulf of Mexico, coming in more so from the northeast, and having more of a southwesterly flow where we have the area of low pressure across Florida and the Bahamas. We can also see that we still have the westerly flow associated with the Central American gyre, trying to create more of a broad area of low pressure with the ear spinning around counterclockwise, trying to get some kind of low pressure going. We'll see if that actually happens, like what the Hurricane Center is stating, in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted if we actually get a storm out of this. As relates to the rainfall forecast now, these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Friday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. And we see that there's going to be some more rainfall for sections of Florida, the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, sections of Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, sections of Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. We can also see some rainfall in store for sections of Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana as usual, anywhere from Martinique northward. So even sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe, those areas that are getting in on that rainfall associated with the trough right now. So sections of Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominica, sections of Haiti getting in on the mix. And we see that rainfall, sections of the Bahamas and Cuba are still going to be getting from that area of low pressure. And we know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.